to the Nerdverse. So today, myself, Ryan, and Bones will be going on this adventure with all of you. Um, so today we're going to be traveling and kind of talking about underused IPs in the Nerdverse, sort of like we did with the first part. So if everyone remembers, we did it was Montross and what was yours again, Ryan?
Monstrous and Malifaux.
Monsters. There we go. And Malva. So we found those to be rather interesting. So me and Travis isn't here today, so Bones is taking it over. But me and Travis tried to find ourselves some exciting IPs to kind of compete with the first two, because obviously everything in life's a competition. But with that, let's go ahead and we're gonna jump into some news as always. There's been a few things going on, so uh, I guess I'll go first since I'm already talking. My big news is just I've checked it out, uh, and I've done a lot with different animes and stuff like that. But I definitely find that a new one out called Tomb Raider King is basically solo leveling, just reskinned a little bit. Even the main character kind of looks like him, and I'm finding today more than ever before, a lot of animes are just regurgitated. Um,
See, I've
so I'm
actually
kind of
heard a lot of good things with Tomb Raider King. What makes you call it a reskin?
because it's basically the same thing where you go into you don't except you don't go into dungeons. So I guess technically it's not, but you do get powers and things from relics and these different things. So it's a very similar thing. And like I said, the main character looks like solo leveling. So my news is literally just to try to get you all to interact a little bit with us. In regards to, do you feel like anime is kind of getting to the point where it's sort of regurgitating characters and story plots, because they're running out of new ideas and sort of new character designs, and they're just trying not to fail. So to do that, they just reskin what's going on right now. So yeah, just kind of drop us something, comments, stuff like that. I'm definitely gonna have a lot of stuff out this week. Um, in regards to shorts again. So we'll be all over TikTok, we'll be all over Facebook and everything like that. So people will I have absolutely have a chance to sort of comment and get at us with these with this particular thing. Who wants to go next?
I'll go ahead and pick up. Um, I decided to veer away from some of the anime and stuff today, so I got two major announcements. In case you've been living under a rock, they did a remaster, I guess, re-release of Halo that just hit Xbox the other day. It's called Halo Campaign Evolved. I picked it up myself, and I gotta say, it's nice. It's fun. It's classic Halo, but ramped up. And so, for all of you old fogies out there like myself that maybe played Halo on the original Xbox, now's your chance to kind of step up and rehash. I know I myself fired it up, super excited, threw it on Legendary, promptly got beat down repeatedly. So, but no, I'm real excited for the Halo re-release. It's a franchise that I love very, very much, and the franchise that, frankly, brought most of me and my friend group together. And so I got a lot of love for Halo. Um, on the darker side of things, I got word on the Wizards of the Coast shakeup. Um, so we have a lot of declaration of recent financial success from Wizards of the Coast, both coming from Dungeons and Dragons, Magic the Gathering, and some of their other IPs. Record sales, record profits, and then we got kind of out of nowhere news that the president of WotC is stepping down, stepping back, and resigning, shaking up a lot of the upper echelons of control over Wizards of the Coast. And frankly, they're in charge of several IPs that we talk about frequently here on the show. So I'm excited to see how that goes.
I I went and watched the movie last night. Just came out. I went and
A
watched
little
Spider Man.
little no name.
Yeah, yeah. So like Marvel character Spider Man. I don't know if y'all heard of him.
Kind of fans.
uh, Man, it was good. It was good. I
Yeah,
highly recommend
excellent.
people to go see it. I think it's not the best of the Spider Man movies, but it was a good movie. I liked it. Clearly, they're building up for Doomsday coming out at the end of the year. I'm sure there's going to be some stuff that's tied into that. And there's definitely some stuff tied into future films. You can see the seeds being planted already. I don't want to say too much. I don't want to spoil anything for people. It's good though. It's a good movie.
No, I'm glad to hear that. I was very hesitant, trepidatious even with Spider-Man because there's been so much flame and fire all over the internet, especially regarding superhero movies, and I'm glad to hear that it was good.
The other thing I wanted to talk about before we get started with the main show is TFT. So they've been going through a lot. Mort Dog, who was like the head of TFT, stepped away a month or so ago, or announced that he was. I don't know if he was fired or whatever the case was, but it's a pretty big deal because he was like a huge part of the community as well. But then today or yesterday, I guess maybe this morning, something like that, the new public beta environment for set 18 dropped for TFT, and they dropped it using the newly updated Unreal Engine. So that's pretty cool. Pretty excited to see where that goes. I played a little bit. It's a little bit janky, but that's okay. That's why they released it like the PBE came out. Usually the PBE comes out like a month before, maybe something like that, but it's like way more, like 2 months or something like that. So they can get like all the kinks ironed out before it drops on the live, and we have tournaments and stuff being played in it.
I'm excited. New use of the Unreal Engine is starting to seep its way into a lot more work, and I only think it's a good thing.
Yeah. I also am excited, but I love TFT, so.
One thing I have to ask for the Spider-Man is do they finally mention anything with the Sinister Six in this one? That's all I want to know. Don't spoil shit else. That's it.
Not explicitly the Sinister Six, no.
Okay. Because my favorite thing about Spider-Man is that he was always the one superhero, not a team of them, one that had a whole team built to take him down. And I thought that was kind of interesting because, yes, there's always these other teams that are built to villains, but it's definitely to fight another team of heroes. Spider-Man's like the only one I can think of that legitimately they built the whole team to try to take on. And I thought like that, and I've been dying for them to do Sinister Six. I thought that would have been great with Andrew Garfield. He's so witty and good.
I also am a huge fan of the Sinister Six. They got some of my favorite characters in there, and I am going to give you a little bit of credit for that because it's not just some random team that put together. There's been several solo heroes that have had to go up against multiples, that are usually themed between 3 and 5 villains. But the Sinister Six is a persistent force with rotating members that consistently holds its ground against Spider-Man. I think that is something unique and kind of fun.
Only because he's a nice guy.
Only because he's a nice guy, yeah. Because let's face it, most of those don't really stand a chance against Spider-Man.
And not just that, but like it's 6 main villains. Like when you look at a lot of the villain groups, it's not usually a whole bunch of main villains. There's usually like some basically garbage in there with like 1 or 2 like big names. The Sinister Six is always the big name villains.
So
yeah, I would say like the only comparable heroes that kind of think off the top of my head would be like Batman.
Yeah.
Often fighting entire organizations or alliances, and Thor.
Oh, that's true.
You probably don't think about, but Thor fights entire nations.
Yeah, he goes up against established teams a lot.
I didn't think about Thor. Batman I just forgot about. But yeah, he usually fights. But they're not usually super powered organizations like Spider-Man.
So that's because he's not supposed to
Spider-Man's aren't super powered either. They're fucking like they got suits and shit.
But 9 minutes 17 seconds.
which also is like Batman's. A lot of them have like augmented
power suits and
augmented abilities. Yeah.
Yeah. See, the ones that stand out to me are going to be actually very similar power sets because when you look at Spider-Man, there are a couple of villains that I think stand out that could be very solo for a long time. Sandman, for example. I mean, his only weakness is his mentality. Kind of looking at the same thing at Clayface, right? But no, I think Batman goes up against organizations a bunch. Batman's supposed to be a street hero, right? That's why Gotham's his thing. He protects the city, similar to Spider-Man in New York. And I think the parallels between those two heroes really surprised me the more and more I look into them. On the subject of Batman, actually, did y'all see this announcement? This isn't really news because I don't know a whole bunch about it. Did y'all see that they're doing an animated Nightfall?
Yeah.
That I'm pretty excited about. Nightfall was never really one of my favorite comics to read, but it's a super famous story, and so
Yeah,
I think they've
the
done
trailer I
before.
seen looks pretty cool. Also, I'm super excited for the Clayface movie.
yeah, the trailer looks so good.
I just want this Batman 2 to come out. Like, what are we really doing here with that?
Yeah.
Like, Batman is such a pivotal character. But anyways, we're gonna get into it now. Did you want to go first? You want me to go first, Bones?
I mean, either way is fine, I suppose.
Okay. Well, I'll do it. I like talking a lot. So my particular underused IP is something that I wouldn't say was underused when it came out, but it definitely disappeared very, very quickly. So the one I picked was Exo Squad. I'm a big fan of like mechs and things of that nature, so it was obvious I was gonna find one that just never really took off. But Exo Squad came out. It was 1993, and originally it was named Exo Force, and it was actually done up by someone that had left Marvel, and he worked on the actual X Force comics at the time. So when he came over, I guess there was a big issue in regards to the name, so they had to change it with Exo Squad. I found it kind of interesting that all that occurred, just because it sort of seems like to me that it was a doomed show to begin with when you already are having problems with other companies with different things that you're doing with it. So I found that pretty cool to come out, and even the action figures, because everything in the 90s was action figure based.
Oh yeah,
Transformers,
everything was toyetic.
GI Joes, Mighty Max, anything you think of, Barbie. You had like they basically had to do the show with sort of the action figures just to make money, I guess, from everything I read. And even the action figures for Exo Squad had a lot of problems because the owner of BattleTech at the time, FASA, actually went after them in regards to copyright and like trade dress infringement, I guess is what it's called. Big words, not a fan of them. So I found that really cool. Like just the Exo Squad from day one just had continuous issues without even putting out an episode. Now,
Now,
once
so
they
this, you said it came
let-
out in
let-
1993. Was it exclusively a cartoon?
no, so I guess initially the design was the action figures. It was gonna. I don't know if they released. I couldn't find that at the same time as the show, or if it was delayed just due to like the infringement and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, so the actual action figures were a big part of um, the release with it. So it was, and they're pretty cool action figures. If you haven't taken the time to like look them up, because it's such a cult like niche thing. Action figures actually go for a decent amount compared to some of the other 90s shows at the time.
Yeah, I'm actually going to give you credit on that one because when we started doing these underutilized or underappreciated IPs and fandoms that were out there, I knew me, Travis, and Bones's fandoms. I know a lot about them. I was comfortable in that space. What you found, I had never even heard of. And so I'm sure that there's a plethora of these very, and frankly, very, very 90s cartoon, right? It's got the 90s animation style just coming out of the 80s. It's got all the bright colors. It's actually really cool looking, but I had never heard of this before.
Yeah,
And to hear,
actually, I think the Exo Squad's pretty interesting in that, yeah, it's like got that 90s animation and bright colors, but like the story, it approaches something more akin to like a Gundam story.
gotcha, very militaristic.
Like it's a little bit on the darker side. Just say that.
So Exo Squad, for having the look of like your 90s comic or your 90s TV show, There's a lot of differences with what they did with Exo Squad. So I'm not sure as to who it was on the team for sure, but they wanted to do more of an anime style storyline, not the like the look of it, but the actual storyline and stuff like that. So they wanted a lot more character development. Um, they wanted more of their traditional like moving along of the story. So part of that is why I think it didn't succeed as well. Because
Oh,
back
wait a
then you
minute.
didn't have Netflix, you didn't have Hulu, you didn't have all these different companies. So like if you missed an episode of Exo Squad, you were doomed because literally every single episode just continuously tied into the next one. So it wasn't like your traditional like Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers and stuff like that where you could miss one or two episodes and you were fine. Like you could just jump into the next one. With Exo Squad itself, you had to see the episodes.
Yeah, I was gonna
And
bring
the
that
other
up.
thing, like, go
I
ahead,
was gonna
Bones.
say like compared to the other like Saturday morning cartoons, right? Like they're mostly like they were like standalone stories and stuff like that. Whereas like Exo Squad, not only was it a serialized story, but like it was also about slavery and genocide, and there was
Child
on-screen
soldiers.
character deaths. So do you think like that adult nature also like hampered it in its popularity?
I definitely do. I think especially back then it had a huge thing with it because I mean, just watching the first episode, like it comes out and it's like, so Earth wanted to expand, so we created we created these things just to be our workers. Like we didn't treat them right, we didn't do anything right. Like it basically comes out and says that like we created a whole new species just to do all our work that we didn't want to and couldn't do. Um, and then that war ended, and they show you nothing of the first war, and then you just see right away like some different PTSD, like in small flavors. They use that word very um, carefully, just because it's not. They don't dive deep into it in the beginning, but you do see it. Like there are characters, like one of the scenes with an assassination early on, the guy saves one of the created species. He saves him. And like when he's done after he does it, like he legitimately looks at the guy and he's like, I didn't do it for you. I did it because it's my job. Because he didn't like all the war that had happened prior to that. So I do think like the adult theme at that time really hampered its possibilities with what it could do.
Truth be told, walking into it, I think one of the biggest hurdles that it had, I had to Google it to check it out. So Exo Squad released on September 18th of 1993. And I think the biggest thing that stopped it was that 20 days earlier was the
Power
release
Rangers.
of its primary competition in the form of Power Rangers. That
I
had
still
to
think
have ground them to a
I st-
halt.
I don't think that's the case. I mean, I think that probably had some right, but like it was slotted as a Saturday morning cartoon, but it wasn't really for kids.
No. Like literally characters, like if you watch it, like when characters made bad decisions, other characters died. And they didn't like die off screen, they like
Yeah,
died in front of you. So there was characters that didn't, and like at that time, even anime, like looking back and things like that, a lot of times you didn't see that at the with what was going on with Dragon Ball Z. People, even if they died, they came back. If you look at like Naruto, things of that nature, like permadeath was not as common in the 90s. So I think again that was just such a huge thing that hampered what they could do between the adult theme and the fact that you had to watch it because it was so serialized.
serialized. Yeah,
You couldn't.
Yeah.
like it wasn't a monster of the week. Like Power Rangers was like a monster of the week, right? Like if you miss an episode of Power Rangers, oh well. Like it doesn't really like unless it was like a 3-part episode or something, right? That's as serialized as it got.
Well, and looking at its other competition, right? Nothing else that it was competing with was serialized to that degree. You're
Right.
talking the top 6 that we're looking at are going to be X-Men, Batman the Animated Series, Mighty Max, which you brought up a minute ago, Bobby's World, Tiny Toons, and Darkwing Duck. And all of those are kind of your adventure of the week, one-off kind of shows, with the exception of a few multi-parters. I would say X-Men's the only one that really veered away from that somewhat. But
Yes, I would say like X-Men had like an overarching story, but it was still mostly like an adventure of the week.
yeah,
Yeah, if
It
you
just had,
missed
like,
it,
little
you were all right.
tie-ins. Yeah.
absolutely true.
Yeah. So I think that's. I mean, like Eric said, and I have to agree with him. I think that's probably like those two things alone. I think are probably what prevented it from being more popular than it was. Having said that, do you think that if it was re-released now, reanimated now, and really, or even just like say released for the first time now with updated animation, would it be successful? Do you think?
Oh yeah, exponentially. Like it would take over the market now. Like if you look at it, like the way the story's driven, and the fact that you've got Netflix and all these different things, Disney. So even if you miss anything with it, like you can just go back and watch it, or it'll release like Disney does a lot of times and just put the whole season out at once, and then you can watch it like that. So I think between that and the fact that like a lot more people want those adult themes nowadays, I feel like we don't have that a lot with some of the animation stuff. So I think that the adult theme would definitely improve it even more on top of the fact of um, just being able to stream it.
You know what? I
Do you
think you're
think?
onto something with that because it's other shows like looking at Netflix, right? Stranger Things has had an incredible amount of success, and due in large part to its themes of growing up with more adult overtones.
Yeah.
Do you think that the fact that it exists now on streaming, but it's behind paywall only, like it's on Amazon Prime, but you have to pay to watch it? Do you think that prevents it from even really experiencing a revival?
I just,
Like
unfortunately,
people aren't gonna catch it as easily, right?
I just don't think it'll ever come back because if you look at the other media that came out with it, like they only made one comic book when they were supposed to make four. Um, the video game was awful. So like anytime I think something's gonna make a comeback, it's because it has other media to go along with it. So like it has the media following still in regards to like the show itself, but because the game was bad, the comic wasn't great. I think they even did a card game at one point. Um, I think just
I
because
think
of
you're right, actually.
everything else just being so awful, um, it just it won't do it. I'd love to see it. Like I said, I think you could do a lot with it with some of the modern animation. But the only people that would probably pick it up is the anime studios overseas, I would imagine. And I don't know, they'll just make their own
I
stuff.
I don't know, man. We saw a resurgence with some of the more Western stuff getting picked up here. She-Ra comes to mind as an example. The show didn't do exceptionally well, but it definitely has its following. I personally thought it was excellent, and I preferred the animation style to the original He-Man stuff. I think this has potential to make a resurgence. There's not a lot of, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong here. I can't think of a lot of like mecha style competition in the sphere right now.
Well, Gundam's got a new thing coming out. Um,
It's always gonna be
they,
Gundam. Gundam.
It's always going to be
yeah.
Gundam.
Now the nice thing is though, like different than Gundam is the more serious nature. Like Gundam, a lot of times there's some series that were
Yeah, it
very
depends on which
serious, like
series, but yeah.
Orphans. Like Orphans would be comparable in my opinion in a sense to Exo Squad in some ways, just because of the serious nature of the show and stuff like that. Um, and that was another thing you couldn't like miss an episode or something because it definitely derailed the way the story went. But I
Absolutely.
can't see it, unfortunately making a comeback. I'd love it, but I just can't.
Yeah, I would argue that most of the Gundam series are actually pretty serious, and that it kind of already fills that role. Not that other mecha anime haven't been popular at some point or another, but nothing has had the staying power of Gundam, really. You know,
Mhm.
But the big thing with Exo Squad that I like more than Gundam is that they're more. You could easily shoot down one of their suits. Like it's not like Gundam going into like a base and like just one of them wipes everybody out. Like Exo Squad, they actually have to move as a unit. You actually see them take damage. They have to do tactics and things of that nature. Um, so if somebody picked it up, I definitely know that it would take off. If a company would put the time into it, it would it would be hugely successful. I think it would actually compete with Gundam if someone took the time to do it right. I don't even think you would have to re-release season 1 and 2. I actually think if you just started at season 3 the way it was supposed to go,
That was actually
I
gonna
think
be
it
my
would
next
jump
question. Is like,
off.
because season 2 ended in like a huge cliffhanger. So do you think it would like be better to just do a full reboot or to just
No.
make a season 3?
Honestly, I would just jump into season 3.
Hey,
That'll get people to go back and watch the other seasons. Um, it'll get people to do something, and you'll pick up a lot of the old fans of it easily because if you put that out, that they're going to be so excited, especially if you stay true to the original material. Like it looks like you care, and I think that's a bigger thing than what people give credit for nowadays when it comes to any sort of media thing. If you show like you care, like everybody talks about that with movies. Oh, he's a fan, he cares. Like Henry Cavill with Warhammer. Henry Cavill could tank that series, but everybody's going to watch it because he's a true fan. He wants to be there, he wants to make the product. So I think if they even just jumped off, like you could start it over again, I guess. But if you just jumped off at season 3, like and just have like your first episode be like episode 0 and it just recaps what happened prior to, I think that would actually work better than just redoing the whole thing.
would you, not necessarily would this be best for the franchise, but for you in particular as a fan of the series, would you rather see somebody pick up the IP and continue into an animation serialized show? Or would you rather see it get more of like a Firefly treatment and get a full feature length movie wrap up done up, maybe even live action vis-a-vis like Pacific Rim style?
I mean, you could do it. I guess you could do it kind of like Pacific Rim, just because we've come a long way with animation and different things like that. I think you got to stick though with just doing the cartoonish drawings. I think it still needs to be a little cheesy too. The bright colors, like no one has the uniforms for the military. To me, it seems like there's no real set anything. Like all their gear is even bright colors. Like usually where people wear backpacks, they're always black or gray or something. Theirs are like purple or green. I think a lot of that adds to the charm of it. And I wouldn't like you could probably do the Fireflies type thing to like sum up season 1 and 2 before you release season 3. That would probably be a decent little idea there. You
A
get like
movie
an hour and a
bridge.
half like movie come out and like kind of tell everybody what happened and then you jump right into season 3. But if you want to make it work, to me the biggest thing would just be season 3. Like that's where it's at.
Gotcha.
What other ways do you think you would want to see the IP utilized rather than just a single like season 3? Do you think?
You got to make a new
Like,
game, man.
yeah,
Like there's so many. Like Mech Warrior is
I
such a good series.
I never played
Like
the game, but I heard you say it wasn't very good. So
no, it
Yeah,
was
I heard you say the
it's
game was awful. To hear you say you need to make a new one, that's interesting.
well, you hit it like a Mech Warrior game almost. You hit it like anything like that, and like the nice thing is the mechs in Exo Squad aren't huge, so they can go anywheres. They could do different things. Like they don't have, and then their collateral damage isn't bad. So there's a lot of different things you could do with it, and they're not all in mechs. Like usually, from what I saw, like the main squad, Able, like they have an actual like ship, and then the rest of them are like actual mechs and the ship can actually transport like if someone falls behind or things like that. Like from what I saw, they can grab onto that ship, like there's a handle or something to it, and they can actually transport it to kind of catch up with people or take it out of the fight and different things. So
You know what? I
there's a
brought this up
lot.
during the Gundam episode. I'm gonna bring it up again. The fact, I think you just sold me on that real hard, because there are two factors you just brought up that I absolutely love. First is the attention to logistics. That's one of my favorite things about Gundam. Is if we were ever going to sit down and play a full-on Gundam RPG, I would kind of want to be the dude in the fucking cruiser in orbit, right? Making sure everybody else is staying topped up or moving around or whatever. But I also had the same complaint that many kids had that grew up in our generation, in that I wanted to watch the Power Rangers fight the bad guy in all of the Zords. I hated the fact that every time the Zords came out, they all just made the big monster and then there was the fight. I wanted to see a bunch of dinosaur robots fight a giant clay monster. And that sounds like what this show did, was a squad of smaller assault mechs that have to move as a team. And I think that sounds awesome.
Oh yeah, it's great. Like just the breakdown of everything and the adultish theme. I know it's not great for the kids, but the more serious team, the serialized is probably one of the best parts. And
I
then
think
just actually,
adult cartoons are pretty popular nowadays here in the West. Whereas at the time when that was coming out, it was really only something that was still enjoyed in like Japan, really. Like,
Oh yeah.
spread. We had some, like we have, but they were imported mostly, like cartoons that adults were meant to enjoy,
Yeah, you're talking
like
Simpsons
Akira,
and
right?
Beavis
Like,
and Butthead. Like,
yeah,
oh, Akira was a good one.
yeah.
I actually just rewatched
So,
Battle Angel the other day. It still blows my mind that movie flopped.
so there's a lot of stuff that was like, it was like animated for heavy metal. I don't know if you ever watched those heavy metal movies.
Yeah.
Very adult themed, right? But
Hey, we got Survive coming in the chat, calling out, do you know what it would do to the budget adding in all the dinos? You right about that, boss. That is a fact. I still wanted it regardless, but yeah, you're right about that.
so
But no,
yeah,
I think that'd be fun. I'd love to see it. Sorry, go ahead.
I think it would be definitely. I mean, I think it would be much more successful IP now, just because of how much more people enjoy adult cartoons than they did at the time.
I think I agree with that 100%. Some of my favorite shows that have come out recently have been adult animation. Looking at Vox Machina and Mighty Nine coming out of Critical Role as primary examples. I think that we are in a climate that would be much more welcoming to adult themed animation. And I think we have been for several years now. The resurgence of King of the Hill is another major landmark, and it's doing excellent. And I think that would be I'd watch it if it came out. I personally would love to see a Pacific Rim style movie done up. And normally I'm not a big proponent for this kind of thing. I'm not a big like Zack Snyder guy. But done up as this dark and gritty military mech movie, I'd watch that so fast.
I gotta say, one of the best things too is like you actually see like decisions have consequences. Like it's so good to like see something like that. Like it's a lasting effect. It's not just a brand new episode the next week, and they just avoid the topic of why did this shit blow up and
Oh,
all these people passed. So
Survive threw out a couple more key details, bringing up South Park and Heavy Metal, both again adult centered animations.
Oh yeah, Blue Eyed Samurai. That was super great animation.
No, yeah, I think that. So me coming in, I purposely didn't look up anything about Exo Squad coming into the episode. Right, I wanted to be completely blind because I didn't know anything about this. But having a military science fiction mecha about squads and decisions and damage and camaraderie. Oh man, that sounds awesome. I'm gonna have to go watch this. I am very, very disappointed that it's locked behind paywalls. Bones, you brought that up a minute ago. That's a major bummer. So somebody out there who happens to be one of our fans, pick up Exo Squad and bring it to the public. We need more robots.
you could catch the first episode on YouTube, and then it's locked out by NBC. I guess they now
You can
own the
catch
rights to
all
it.
the episodes anywhere if you're determined enough.
Well,
Yeah. No, that's so. Eric, what was it about it back then that drew you to the show, and what is it about it that keeps you a fan now?
So the big thing back then for me was the mechs. I've always been a big mech person. I think they're the because it started with Transformers, obviously, and Transformers were cool. But then when you got to see mechs, like where you actually pilot the giant thing instead of it fights on its own, um, that always kind of was interesting to me. And then now it would just be, yeah, the more adult topics and stuff. We keep hammering that, but like realistically, that's true. Like you get to see consequences, you get, and it's serialized, so you've got to sit there and watch it all. So it's nothing. It just grabs you. Like you have to watch everything. It doesn't treat you like a kid. Um, so it's that's what keeps me going now. It's like I'm rewatching it I'm most of the way through season 1, so I'll be getting into season 2 next, and yeah, it just makes you want to keep going because you got to know the next thing that happens. I never wanted to watch most shows again because I didn't care what happened next because it was something new.
You know what? It makes me think about, and correct me if I'm wrong. It would have a vibe pretty similar to like a follow-up Iron Man series where, War Machine and Falcon and uh, Ironheart were all teamed up. Would it be similar? Do you think?
Clunkier suits, a
Not
bit
nearly as
bigger
fast. Okay.
suits. Yeah, so um,
Something like an Armor Wars series.
Armor Wars.
actually, if you look at the movie and you look at his initial suit that he makes in the cave, I would say that's a lot more similar to Exo Squad than what his current suit is. I mean, Exo Squad would still be a little bit bigger because they got to go in space. They carry a lot of armaments because they do shoot rockets and stuff like that.
So you're thinking more like Ironmonger from the first Iron Man movie.
Yeah, I think so.
Obadiah
I'm trying to
Stane's
think.
suit.
Yeah. So yeah, but again, not huge suits, so there's a lot you can do with them. It's fun. I do want a game though, NBC or whoever owns that.
Yeah.
Like, give me a game.
Give me a game.
Does that mean that tonight's theme is just mechs? Because
And video game
Travis
mechs.
also wanted to talk about.
But yours made a good video game. Mine made a good show. That's the difference.
Yeah.
See, we need to put them together.
So, because Travis not here, I got to take his spot and bring up. And it's fine because I actually also love this IP as well. And I
Same.
know Ryan does. But I got to talk about a mech video game. I would say it was like underrated because it at the time didn't do well, but it has become kind of like a cult following, and that is Titanfall in the Titanfall universe. 2 video games in the main line: Titanfall 2, and then actually the most successful one, which I'm kind of bitter about because I don't really like it that much, is Apex Legends, which takes place in the same universe.
Same kind of mechanical system too.
Yeah, phenomenal video game though. Super, I think, ahead of its kind of time as far as like the gameplay loop. You start as a soldier on the ground in like an FPS kind of situation. You could call your Titan after you waited a certain amount of time, or I can't remember how you charged. It's been a while.
Yeah, I don't remember how you charged it up. Yeah.
So in the multiplayer, I think it was kills. Kills could speed up stuff like
kills.
that.
I knew
I think it was like a timer, and then you could increase it by like getting more kills. But man, that was amazing. And also like the wall running and everything, the mobility of just being on feet as a soldier, was also amazing.
Absolutely true. I think the mechanics of these 2 games was awesome. It's by far the best mech game I've ever played. It had the best feeling mech without feeling like you were just the mech itself as a character. And Titanfall 2, I think, did a great job of bridging the gap between the pilot and the mech, being 2 separate characters. Absolutely beautiful.
And the second one, the campaign was great as well. The first one didn't have a campaign, didn't it? It was like just only
no campaign.
I don't think
that
it had
people's
anything.
Complaint.
Yeah. I remember being upset about that as well. The second one, Titanfall 2, had a great campaign though. A lot of people loved it, myself included. As we talked about when we were talking about this a little bit before the show, undoubtedly, like what prevented it from being successful was its release window. Like, let's just get that out in the open, out in the front, right? Like 2 major IPs sandwiched between 2 major releases, Call of Duty and Battlefront. One of them, I think, was the other
Battlefield and Call of Duty Infinite Warfare.
Infinite Warfare, yeah, that was a death sentence release window. Gross.
So that's sad. It could have been better. I think it could have been a better release. I think if it had been a better release window, definitely would have been a more popular game at the time, because like I said, it became quite popular, but at the time it was not really that
Yeah,
great
it didn't
of a
it didn't
seller.
commercially do well.
Yeah,
It just
it
kind
was.
of got buried. And frankly, I blame EA. I know I blame EA for everything. I don't even have a good reason this time, but screw them.
Yeah, so I know it was like Respawn was the developers, right?
Yep.
EA did, well, which is also another sad thing, and I think is going to be preventing it from going maybe anywhere for a while. Is that, you know, Apex is still around, still quite popular, still big tournament scene for that. But the co-founder for Respawn, Vince, starts with a Z, Zampanelli or something like that. I cannot remember his name, but he passed away at the end of last year in a car accident. And he was a big proponent of like, I want to make more Titanfall.
Vince
So
Zampella.
Zampella, that's what it is. That's Zampella. So, you know, that's a little bit of a sad thing that, I mean, it wasn't getting made at any quick rate anyway, but I think that was like one of the bigger chances of getting made, right? Is him being the co-founder of Respawn saying, hey, I really want to make this still.
So
What up,
here's
Eric?
a question for you. Do you feel like Apex pretty much was the nail in the coffin for Titanfall? Like they were never ever going to do Titanfall 3 after
Okay,
how successful
so
Apex is?
so the thing with like they were actively developing Titanfall 3 when they actually when they started playing all of these PUBG and these battle royale games, and they're like, oh, like this is awesome, I want to make a battle royale game. So they kind of tried to turn Titanfall 3 into a battle royale game. They realized like the mechs kind of broke the balance of that too much, and the mobility of your ground troops kind of didn't work that well with that. So they kind of just scrapped that all and turned it into what was initially named Apex Predator. Then there was like some copyright issues with that because there's like literally another game named Apex Predator, so they had to rename it. And then you got Apex Legends, which I mean, like, good for them. It was very successful, right? But it's not the game that I wanted.
Yeah, definitely not the game that I wanted. I'm going to throw our look over to the chat real quick. We got Survive is bouncing back and forth and brought up 2 key points, asking what we thought of Zoids. I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to put a pin in that and come back to Zoids towards the end of the episode. But then they asked, do you consider Bionicle as a mech? And I have to say my answer to that one is no. I would call Bionicle more like a super robot style show, personally. What do y'all think?
I'm not familiar. I mean, I'm familiar vaguely with the IP, but I don't know enough about Bionicle. Honestly, that was a little bit towards the end of my
Yeah,
childhood
a little after
times,
our time.
So, yeah.
But no, so as somebody that played Apex Legends, I played a significant amount of it. My brother Brandon really enjoyed the game, so I played with him a lot. And I found the game enjoyable for what it was. I do think it was a solid middle of the road when it came to the battle royale style games. I liked that it was more fast paced. I liked that it was brightly colored instead of just being the drab that we got, because everybody was just copying PUBG, right? So
All the milsim type
yeah,
environments.
milsim. And so I'm going to give it the credit where it's due, where I thought it was very creative artistically. I thought the visuals were fantastic. The mechanics, admittedly, were very smooth. They were silky smooth. And they did a really good job balancing their characters and paid a lot of love and attention to the game, which is why I think it has the fan base that it has now. But in no universe do I call that Titanfall 3. It's a fine game. I think it's fine.
Yeah, I mean,
But
so I would say about Apex that there's a lot of lore that they introduced into Apex that fleshed out the Titanfall universe, which is cool. The lore of the world is super interesting. I think actually like a Titanfall show would be fucking phenomenal. Yeah. Do you think? Yeah,
yeah,
an anime would. Yeah, I think because of the way the Titanfall universe works, I think that it's way different than Gundam. Because like Gundam's a lot in space. A lot of the times you're doing big space battles, grand battle. Like Titanfall's
Earth.
place in our current timeline of the Titanfall timeline it's not Earth. It's actually the frontier. It's uncolonized space planets, basically.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so, but it is a lot more grounded, right? So everything's like war on land. There's not a lot of like space battle. There stuff happened, right? But as far as the
Well,
games that we've played, not as much.
it,
And you could make that in the anime. Also, you can make a lot more character focused stuff too, and a lot more kind of weird characters because not all
yeah.
the characters are human, right? Oh, and they have weird abilities. So I think include like if you were to take Apex and smash it into Titanfall like properly, you know, combine those universes back
Absolutely.
together,
Yeah.
it would make a phenomenal anime. I think.
Well, and I think that this question really harkens back to what Eric brought up during our news segment, right? I think that there is a significant difference between having shows be reskinned, rehashed, or being a ripoff versus having another show come out that uses the exact same Legos. Um, Me personally, to harken back to Tomb Raider King, I haven't watched it yet, so I can't actually call. I'm gonna defer to Eric on that. But I would hate for a show to get trashed that it's just a reskin of Solo Leveling, just because it uses the same building blocks, the lit RPG style, video game in real life, isekai kind of mashup. And I think that Titanfall and Gundam fall into a similar deal. It's an entirely different vibe, right? Yes, it uses some of the same Legos. Giant robots, military wars, governments are stupid, but ultimately those are such a different flavor of giant pilotable mechs
I
that I
actually
think it would do
think
fantastic.
Titanfall is more like Exo Squad than Gundam
Yeah.
because you
Well, I would
do a
also
lot
say
more.
this: the Titanfall isn't the government versus the people; it's a corporation.
Yes, that
Which
is
I
a
think also
huge
adds
distinction.
like as an interesting flair, you know, more like cyberpunk or something like that, right? Where you're like fighting the corpos.
I
You know,
definitely
a
think though.
cyberpunk mech mashup is a really good way to describe Titanfall, I think.
I don't know if I go that far, but
Like it's not
it's
cyberpunk in its aesthetics or style,
Yeah, not in its
yeah.
but
aesthetics.
But
I mean the idea is like the ICCS or whatever it's called. I can't remember what the name of
You know
the
what?
core is literally just Hammond Engineering initially. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Hammond Engineering becomes Hammond Robotics, and then it becomes international or intergalactic something or other. I can't remember what it's called, but it's just a corporation that controls everything.
You know what? I do want to bring up one interesting detail. I'm going to ask everybody in chat the same thing. Now, Titanfall 2 did something that very few other mech series do at all, and it's something we've actually laughed and joked about in our tabletop game, our D&D game, where we've talked about doing mecha or Gundam style games before, and we do have one member that very very vocally is always, well, as long I'll do a Gundam game as long as we can do stuff outside of our Gundams. Shout out to Ugly. And that was something we've kind of made fun of him about, where it's like, yes, let's do a mech game where we don't play in our mechs. Titanfall did that. Titanfall had a fantastic loop of pilot out of the suit versus pilot in the suit. How do y'all feel about those two comparisons?
I mean that's why I say though it's a. I'll always say it's a good mech game and it's a great shooter because they made it so you're like if anybody watched Gundam Wing, you're Hero Yui basically in Titanfall 2 or Titanfall 1 too. But yeah,
Without the main
that's
character syndrome.
yeah, that's basically what you are though in those like that's the only thing I could think that's a comparison because to me Gundam and that don't compare just because Gundam is 99% mech. Like when you see the guys out of their Gundams, most of them, yeah, they can handle themselves a little bit, but they're not doing a whole lot. When you look at like uh, Titanfall or even Exo Squad, like they do a lot more combating outside. That's why I compared those two. But I do find like Titanfall 2, like you are a beast outside of your mech. And
Yeah, because
actually,
well,
I
you're
want
trained soldier still. Like,
Yeah,
but
you're
you're
still a
above and
soldier.
beyond because you're doing wall running, double jumping, you do a lot of crazy stuff.
well,
But that's what I wanted to
that's
ask
because of
you.
the equipment they have. But
I actually wanted to ask you, Bones. Do you think they overpowered their mechs in that game, or do you think like they were just like the right level, like in comparison to like other mechs or even like foot soldiers, like things like that? Because it wasn't easy to get your mech all the time. or your Titan.
You
Sorry,
know,
Titan.
yeah, your Titan. I think that it was fine. I mean, I think it scaled well to the game. Like every other game, like it's just like a kill streak basically, right? Like getting the best kill streaks in Call of Duty. Yeah, everybody can get a fucking UAV.
UAV.
Getting 3 kills is not that hard. Getting 50 kills and dropping a nuke nearly impossible, right? So the mech was like right in the middle of that, and I think that's a perfectly fine spot for it to be.
Well, and I
Yeah,
think
but what
that
do you think though? One sec, Ryan. Sorry. So what I actually like in regards to combat, though, is what I was more talking about. Like mechs, like did you find that the mechs during the match, like or Titans? Sorry, I keep saying mechs. Did you find that the
Right.
Titans in the matches were too powerful, or did you find one more powerful than all the others? And like, how did you feel about like the Titans versus like someone just on foot? Do you feel
I
like
mean,
they would
obviously,
just
most of the time you were just smoking people on foot, which is fine. Which was, I mean, that makes sense to me. I think they were perfectly well balanced. I mean, I think Respawn has done great as far as balancing characters, balancing the combat in their games goes. Anyway, just across the board. So yeah, I think, like I said, like, that's what I mean. Like it was like in between the nuke and in between the UAV, right? Like it was not something that was completely vaguely impactful versus like it ends the game when you get it, right? It's like something in the middle. It's like getting the attack chopper or something. It's strong. It kills a lot of most people, but like another mech also makes it much more difficult. As far as like a single mech that was like more powerful, I don't know. Like I can't remember like
I
one of them being like
well, and
uh
I think that there are two main details about that question that stand out, right? The first and foremost is when you talk about narratively, Titanfall and the Titans don't scale to a lot of the other mech stuff. They were much smaller, much more localized with a much more limited armament and a few handful of special abilities. Now, as far as gameplay goes, yeah, they were a monster, right? But nothing really beats that rush when you are on foot and you get the right seize on a Titan and can pull out a heat sink or pull out the
yeah,
battery or yank the pilot
100%.
out, and disable it while you were on foot. That was awesome. And I think that having them balance the power of a Titan and then giving you those moments, that's hard to beat.
I got one more for you, Bones. What did you think about the relationship between BT and Jack Cooper in that second one? And do you think it might have had any hindrance on like how much people liked the game, or did it have a
No,
impact like
man, no
people
way.
liked it more?
I think people love the relationship between Jack and his Titan, man. I think that that's like one of the draws to the campaign. Um, so I think that helped it. If anything, I definitely don't think it hurt it.
I wish they would have let me have that relationship in multiplayer. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah,
Like that would have been pretty cool if you could name your because I don't think you could give it its own name. I think it had to be whatever Ronin or whatever particular one you liked. But I think that would have been great if they could have took that concept a little further and
they would have
incorporated
added
it in multiplayer.
more customization in multiplayer, where you just build your mech from the ground up, build your Titan from the ground up. Basically, that'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah, I just want to name it. I want to come up with a cool name. I don't know. It would have been nice. And it talked to me
You
too.
know, like the Titans too are like such an integral part to the lore of like that universe too, because like not only are they used for war, they're like literally used for everything, agriculture and logistics, just everything, right?
Construction.
I Yeah, which I think is like pretty interesting, because like in this world you have everything in your hands to basically have a utopia. They have robot servants basically for firefighting and all of this kind of stuff, and you have mechs for all the heavy lifting stuff that like force multiplier times like 1,000, right? Uh, but people are still poor and living on farms in the frontier. Uh, so I don't know. I think there's like again, I think there's like an interesting story that could be told in the form of an anime or I love comic books. I would love a comic book. That'd be great. But
Yeah.
just something like that. I think
Well,
there's a lot more to be done with the IP than just some PvP shooter games.
well, and I think there's very few other franchises that use mechs or mech-like stuff that do that, the multi-purpose mechs. 40K is the only other one that comes to mind with the knights, because the knights were supposed to be farming implements, and that got weaponized. And I would like to see some of that explored a little more. Me personally, like, you're talking, you'd like to see a comic book. If I was going to greenlight something, I want a tabletop. I think it would be a lot of fun to have a tabletop game that you have to do some of it on foot, you have to do some of it in your Titan, and you do get to customize it, name it, get your weapon loadouts and stuff. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
I think that'd make a great TTRPG. I don't know how much of a tabletop I'd enjoy, but a
Oh,
TTRPG.
I was referring to a tabletop RPG. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
necessarily a
Sorry, I
miniatures
wasn't
game.
sure. Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
No, if you're going miniatures game, it's going to be hard to beat Mech Warrior. Frankly,
Mech Warriors,
but
for a tabletop mech game.
for a tabletop game, yeah. But a tabletop RPG specifically, I think
it
would be
would kill.
fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. I got one other thing. I just want to put this out here to Respawn. And if you use my idea, I'm okay with it. If you send me a free copy, if you make Titanfall 3, but I think you should actually be able to talk to your mech, because with PlayStation 5 now you got the built-in mic on your controller, so you could do that and you can talk to it and have it attack things. I think that'd be really cool. So if Respawn does want to steal that idea, feel free. Just let me know. I want my own game. That's it. That's all I got. Bones. So what if you were gonna bring, like, I hate saying bring it back, but if they make a sequel to Apex, which has to come out eventually because everybody else does it, Call of Duty and Battlefield, everybody puts out a newer game with upbeat graphics and stuff like that. Do you think that they might try to incorporate the Titans if they do make not, I don't want to say a sequel to Apex or like anything like that, but like if they continue the story and release a new version of Apex, do you think they'll try to put the Titans in there? Or are they just gonna keep it with the wacky
almost zero
characters?
chance. I think that we see Titans coming into Apex.
No, I think I agree with that. I think that there is a road. It will not be taken. I'm with Bones on this, but there is a road where they could release an Apex 2, let's say, keeping the same formula that they had in the first game, where you have the plethora of characters with the unique abilities, and then have two different battle modes. One being your standard Apex, battle royale, and another being with Titans. And have it be kind of a capture and hold style fight, similar to the old Call of Duties, right? Where you could have your Titan out and they're doing the primary fighting and blah blah blah, but you had to get out to go inside the bunker to click the computer or whatever. I think that there is a formula there. I'm not a developer, so I don't know what it would be. But I'm with Bones on this one. I doubt they take that road to ever try to do a hybrid battle royale Titan mech game.
No, I think that like I agree. I think there's a road there. I think there could be like an interesting like a battle royale game with Titans where you're like, everybody's rushing in Call of Duty, right, to get their loadout. You could be rushing to get your Titan.
Yeah,
but I don't think. I mean, I don't think that that's ever going to happen. I think the best we can hope for is Titanfall 3. Like that's the only way we get Titans again.
I would do backflips over that alone. Having Titanfall 3 would be fantastic.
And unfortunately, I do have to get going, so I'm going to have to sort of wrap this up. I think we did pretty good. I think it was another great episode. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Bones, you did great last minute on Titanfall. That was really good. Pulled it out. Amazing series. I feel like Titanfall is sort of like Exo Squad in the sense that maybe it wasn't underused but it died a little too early. Hopefully they do something with it. I'll never consider Apex Titanfall. So if anybody wants to come on in the chat and say some nonsense about, well, Titanfall is still going on, it's Apex. No, it's not. Okay, so just get that out of your head. So next week we're going to be going over should Lucasfilm slow down? A lot going on with that, and I think it'll be fun for everybody to see us kind of discuss about that. We'll definitely have some debates going on, and we'll keep it somewhat civil. I know we've definitely done this episode in the past, but
yeah,
there's been a lot of pickup going on, And I feel like it's a great time to come back at it again because, I mean, Grogu Mando just came out. Well, not just, but is recent. There's a lot more talk about Ahsoka, and then they're talking about combining shows again to make less of them, or taking even characters from other shows. Like they're talking about the villain from the one nobody liked with all the Jedi on it.
The
I can't
Princess?
Acolyte. They're talking about taking the villain from Acolyte and working him into other shows now. So there's a lot going on in the Lucas universe. I feel like some rumors, some not. So, yeah, I'm excited. Next week, hopefully Travis will come back. Who knows? He is getting kind of older, so a little touch and go on that one.
We'll see.
We'll see. No,
Yeah.
we do wish Travis all the get wells, so he can heal up. I am going to step in
Yeah,
here right at the end, guys.
He needs to stop
If you
being
made-
a bitch. Well, I say.
Yeah.
I
If you
didn't
made
say
it
it,
this far
Travis.
into the
Wasn't me,
episode,
buddy.
obviously you like listening to three old dudes talk about IPs and fandoms. And so if you're feeling especially generous, be sure and give us a like, give us a comment down below, tell us what you thought. If you want to support the channel, the best way to do that is to buy some merch. Our summer line is doing relatively well, and I'm a great proponent for it. And of course, if you're not following us, you should be, because we know the way.
Yeah, I'm not doing that nice to say goodbye stuff. So, bye, everybody.